For this video, let's have a quick tour on Google Forms. So what is or how do we use Google Forms? So usually when you talk about Google Forms, this is mainly used for, in the case of statistics, we can use this one for surveys. And of course, you may have as well noted or observed that some of your teachers are actually using this for your quizzes. And these forms can be easily embedded into our LMS Canvas. That's why some of your teachers are using this one. Um, this form also comes with an autocorrect function, which means to say if ever it's given as a quiz, it has the capacity and the ability to check the quiz given it's a multiple choice or if there is already an answer available to the question. So, but for this purpose, I'm going to show you first how to use Google Forms as a tool for surveys, okay, which you can actually use if your performance task would allow you or would require you for surveys. Okay, so first up is you have to, of course, go and click a blank form, okay, and this is your working area. The first thing that you will see after clicking the blank form, first is you have to give a title to your survey. So like, for example, this is, what is this? COVID-19 survey. Just let's say that's about the performance task. So in these tabs here, you will see questions and responses. In the question tab, of course, that's where you're going to create your questions or your survey questions, and together with the options or the choices your respondents will have to make. So again, you have to repeat that, the title here, okay? Because when you send this to your respondents, this is the first thing as well that they will see. And of course, you have to write here your description of the survey, or in survey forms, we call this the cover letter. So you have to communicate with your respondents what you want them to accomplish and how you want them to accomplish your survey. So like, for example, you will say, dear respondents. Okay, so you have to, of course, create an atmosphere of endearment to your respondents so that they would have really to complete your survey. So, like, if this is a cover letter, you will have to explain. So, we are in the process of gathering data on COVID-19, um, what they call this one, facts. Or let's say, for example, gathering data on how COVID-19 has affected um, our way of life. So, for example, that's the meat of your survey. So you could go ahead and say, um, we are asking, okay, for your time to complete this survey, um, and then you will have to end this one with a statement that says, we assure you that your responses will be treated with, how do you say that, you should not be sharing this to anyone. So you could say, be treated with anonymity, which means to say whoever is the person who answered this one would remain anonymous all throughout, okay? Or we will be treated with utmost um, um, care or whatever, okay? So then you could say here, researchers, or you could actually say thank you very much first. Okay, so that's your cover letter here. And of course, below that, you will have to write your question. So if you click Untitled Question, you have options of how your choices would look like. Would it either be multiple choice, short answer, paragraph, check boxes, drop down, or whatever? So I leave to you how you are going to explore this one. Okay. So but then let me start with one question here. So for example, this is the question: how did COVID 19 affect your um, day, let's say, this is just an example, day to day activity. So that's the question, right? And let's say I want to use, okay, multiple choice, right? So let's say option one, um, let's say that the option here says it um, prevents me from um, staying um, late outside. Okay, because there's curfew, right? Okay. So what about if you want to add another option? So you just have to click here, add another option. So this option two, or let's say you will the option here, it prevents me from hanging out with my friends. Okay, that could be another option. Or one last option, for example, is it let's say it taught me to um, be always mindful of the cleanliness around me. Okay. So, if you're, of course, if you're satisfied with that, so that's it. If I will change that to check boxes, this is how it will look like. So just to show you that what's the important thing here is, of course, they would need to just check, okay, one or two. So you have to specify as well if they are allowed to check more than one. Okay. So actually, you could go ahead and click these three dots here. Okay. You could shuffle option order, response validation, and you could also go and click this description. And you always have to click this one as required, because if not, your respondents can actually just skip the portion. Okay. And if you want to add another question, for example, you just have to click this one, add question. Okay. Or you can import questions, things like that. So what about if it's a drop down? So it would look like that, drop down. Okay. But I would recommend you either use multiple choice or check boxes, because in check boxes, they could actually check more than one. Okay. So if for example, I'm looking at this, I'm the one, I mean, I'm one of the respondents, and I think that all these three choices describes how COVID-19 affected me or my day-to-day activity, and then I could check all three. But you have to specify. So let's say, let's specify that. Um, check um, all choices that apply. Applies or apply to you. So that would give your participants or respondents the idea that they could, do that. And you have to send this form. Okay, so let's say you're done with your survey questions. Click settings first, because here you will have to set some things straight. number one. Okay. The rest here on top, these are by default, and so that is already good. You don't have to change anything here. But in this one, requires sign in if your respondent is not from the University of St. LaSalle. Let's say it's your mom who has a different email address. It doesn't end with usls.edu.ph. So you uncheck it. Because if you check this one, the problem there is they cannot open if they're outside of the USLS domain. Okay? And you have to check limit to one response because you only need one response from them. Okay? And after that, that's actually good. You could just leave this one out. It's okay. Just click save. All right? You have also here option to customize the theme. So you click customize theme. You can change the color if you want. You could also choose an image to represent the theme of your survey. So like for example, you want it something like this. So you just go ahead and insert that. It will pop up as your header theme. All right. But make sure the theme that you use or the image that you use is of course related to the survey topic. Okay. Next, we have to go and save. I mean send. So in sending, there are different ways. You could send via email, so you just have to type. But if there are a lot of people to be added into this survey, you could just actually use the link. Click this link here. You could shorten that URL and you copy this link and send this to the people whom you will consider as your respondents. Okay? But if there's only a few, then you could just use their email address. You could just, text them and then ask for their email address and then add it here. Next is you have to collaborate with your group mates. So you can add collaborators and maybe they could go ahead and check as well the content of your survey. So just like how we did or how I discuss it in Google Docs and in Google Slides, it's just pretty much the same on how you could add the editors here. Just have to add their um, email address of your group mates, and your teacher for the teacher to check as well. Right? So that's it. I hope that once you have sent the survey, you should follow up those people or those respondents of yours. So make sure that you stay in touch with them for them to complete that. Now, once they have answered the survey, you will know that because in the responses tab, you will see that there are already people or there are already a number for responses. So if, for example, you have 30 respondents, you will know that it's complete because there are already 30 responses here. Now, what do we do if we are done? You can actually download using spreadsheet. And if you download that, the result of your survey will be given in tabular form, which you can just actually use right away if there are certain presentations that you have to make because the table is already ready. Okay, so let me show you an example of how this looks like. Okay, so let's go back first to home, to our home page. And I would like to show you here one example. So let's say this one. So this is the example that I'm talking about. The responses here says 24. So there are 24 people who have answered the survey. The summary is as follows. So summary, question, individual. You will see in the summary a pie graph on whether which response is mostly chosen by your respondents, or which choice is mostly chosen by your respondents. And again, as what I've mentioned, you could download the spreadsheet. So if you click this one, okay, you could say create a new spreadsheet. Okay, so if you click create, this is what will come out: a table form for your Google form. And this is what you will use now in order for you to present, okay, to present your results. So with that, good luck to our performance task week. Hopefully, you can do it properly and you could appreciate the value of this platform in collaborating with your teacher and with your classmates. Thank you and goodbye.